As we know, airlines are a critical link to maintaining a supply chain for the movement of essential goods and services.
Tonight, Minister Dan Vandel breaks down the federal government's northern funding.
People need a target to unload onto because of their fear and insecurity, paranoia, and in some cases just plain racism.
A Montreal group that investigates racially motivated incidents wants people to know their rights.
The people that know how to sew, that want to tackle it, have watched it and reached out to me and told me that it was easy instructions.
And one woman's online face mask tutorial is helping others. Good evening, welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward. In Ottawa today, the federal government announced $130 million to support northern communities dealing with COVID-19. Here's Todd Lamarand with the details.
Prime Minister Trudeau was the first to mention the new northern funding. He said it would go to healthcare and community preparedness, northern air carriers, and Nutrition North.
These are tough times, but we're going to help you through them, to set your community up to come back strong when things get better, because they will.
Minister of Northern Affairs Dan Vandel broke down the $130 million during the daily health briefing. $72.6 million is going to the three territorial governments.
To assist with health preparation and response and to support continuity of air transportation services to northern communities.
Vandel announced an additional $17.3 million for airlines.
And as we know, airlines are a critical link to maintaining the supply chain for the movement of essential goods and services.
And $25 million to beef up the Nutrition North subsidy.
To better support northern families in accessing sufficient, safe, nutritious food by increasing the subsidy rate on basic and essential goods that families depend on. We have also added cleaning and personal hygiene products to the list of eligible items of Nutrition North Canada to all northern communities.
Tuesday's health briefing also included a message for parents by Dr. Teresa Tam.
Children's daily routines have been turned upside down, and the things that they have most been looking forward to have been cancelled. As for us, it is for them. Silence and secrets do not protect children. Honesty and openness do.
Trudeau also said details are coming this week on helping those who don't qualify for the emergency response benefit, like students, and relief for industries hit hard, like airlines, tourism, and oil and gas. Todd Lamarand, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Two Indigenous communities in British Columbia each now have a confirmed case of COVID-19. Blueberry River First Nation in northeastern BC reported its first case last week. This week, the Namgis Nation of Vancouver Island confirmed a case in their remote community. The population of the small island is about 1,200 people. 70% are Indigenous. The Namgis Nation shares the island with the community of Alert Bay, and the mayor of Alert Bay tested positive for COVID-19. He is now self-quarantining at home. Chief Don Spanik says this news hits home in their remote community.
We live on a small island, and I'm thinking people were kind of thinking we're kind of safe. You know, obviously we're not. I think the vast majority of people were taking it very seriously, and the minority that wasn't taking it this seriously, I think will take it a whole lot more seriously now.
The newest numbers are in, and Nunavut remains the only part of Canada without a positive test for COVID-19. 399 tests have been given, 200 have come back negative. After the federal government announced their territorial COVID-19 aid package today, Nunavut's premier says it took too long to arrive, and it isn't enough.
We did request it 4 weeks ago, so there's quite a lag in getting our answers. And we didn't get our full ask. We asked it for $42 million, and we got to $38 million. And that's about all I can say to that, I guess. And we spent $20.4 million of our own money already to date.
In the United States, Indian country has been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. Many nations have locked down their communities. Similar to First Nations here, crowded housing conditions and pre-existing health problems make Indian country particularly vulnerable. For more, we're joined by Mark Trehant, the editor of Indian Country Today. Mark, good to see you. As we know, Native American nations are among the most vulnerable during the COVID-19 pandemic. What has been the impact so far?
Well, it's mixed. So the tribes have been hit pretty hard with it. There are over 1,100 cases now in the Indian health system, 39 deaths. It's growing exponentially, particularly places like the Navajo Nation, but also some of the Pueblos. The great fear is what happens when it gets into Alaska and some of the native villages that are quite a ways from any roadway or health system, and that easily could be a big problem. A lot of folks remember the history of the flu a century ago and how devastating that was, particularly in Alaska, where entire villages were wiped out.
You mentioned the Navajo Nation, which has been the hardest hit. Can you tell us a bit about what's behind that?
There was a religious service that had a large group of people, and some of them were infected, and they infected everybody in the virus. They went then back to their home communities and brought it back, and then it just expanded beyond that. The latest today is some of the Navajo police officers, 2 Navajo police officers reported coming down with this infection. And so now there's concern about what that does to the police. They've been enforcing a very restrictive curfew, lasted an entire weekend, and they actually gave citations to people leaving their homes unless they had a purpose.
Are proper resources being provided to nations during this pandemic?
There's still not enough, but there are some. For example, the Air National Guard flew masks and other surgical equipment to Kayenta to help with that. But in terms of actual large-scale resources, far more is needed. Tribes right now in the United States are going through a complicated process to be made whole by all of this, at least as much as possible, and it's already contentious. One of the issues is they have an $8 billion fund that will give money to tribes and tribal governments. But 2 things have happened. One, there was a study yesterday from Harvard that said that tribal payrolls and other economic activity amounted to $50 billion. So $8 billion is barely just the beginning.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that study that you did have a story on yesterday. Can you talk a bit about that $50 billion hit that the economy of Indian country is expecting?
Sure. Well, one of the ways that most people think about is virtually every tribe has some sort of gaming operation. Not virtually every, but a lot of tribes have gaming operations. And we think of the big ones, the big, beautiful hotels and resorts. But what really matters is the ones that employ 200, 300 people. And all of those are shut down, and all of those are excluded from any kind of help from the United States government. And those are the communities that are really hurting that have these payrolls they have to somehow meet.
Well, Mark, appreciate you taking some time here to fill us in on what is happening. The last time we had you on, it was about Indian Country Today trying to launch a newscast, and I see you've got that going now, so congrats on that as well.
Thank you. We're following your lead to have the only other national newscast.
Well, congrats. Thanks, Mark. And we want to hear what you think about COVID-19 and its effects on nations across Turtle Island. Here's how to share your opinion or ask a question. Send an email to news@aptn.ca. Leave a comment on aptnnews.ca, on youtube.com/APTN News, or comment on APTN News' Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram pages. Manitoba RCMP and Manitoba First Nations Police Service are investigating the death of a 15-year-old teen girl in Wew'suwet'en First Nation on Saturday. First Nations Police Service were called to a home in the community, which is about 320 kilometers northeast of Winnipeg. They were responding to reports of a gunshot, where they found the teen had been shot. She was transported to hospital, where she later died. Police arrested and charged 25-year-old Lawrence Jade Shingoose with manslaughter. RCMP, along with First Nations Police Service, continue to investigate. Well, coming up, a Métis fashion designer will show you how to make your own face mask. Stay with us. Here's a look at Wednesday's weather outlook, starting on the East Coast. +3 under sunny skies for St. John's. -6 in Nain. +3 under the sun for Cartwright. +5 in Montreal. 5 above in Quebec City with flurries. +3 with snow in Toronto. 4 above and flurries for Ottawa. 0 in Thunder Bay. -2 in Sioux Lookout. 9 below with snow in Churchill. -3 under sunny skies for Norway House. 0 and snow for Winnipeg, Gimli, Princess Harbor, and Barons River. +1 in Regina. 0 for Saskatoon and North Battleford. 0 in Uranium City and La Ronge. Welcome back. As Quebec continues to lead the country with COVID-19 cases, civil rights advocates are warning about a spike in reported anti-Asian hate crimes. There are mounting concerns that Montreal's urban Inuit are also mistakenly targeted. Lindsay Richardson explains.
In Montreal, a once bustling Chinatown, now easily mistaken for a ghost town. Residents retreating in fear of the COVID-19 virus, but also in fear they'll be blamed for it.
It's all about scapegoating. People need a target to unload onto because of their fear and insecurity, paranoia, and in some cases just plain racism.
Foniemi's organization, known as CRAR, investigates racially motivated incidents across the city. Roughly 30 emails received in the last month chronicle harassment against Asian Montrealers. Shopkeepers are accosted, Buddhist temples vandalized. One teen punched in the face in a blitz attack on the metro. But Niemi says other groups are also at risk of retaliation.
For example, Inuit people are often mistaken for Asians, and they may be as well be the target of anti-Asian hate.
This week, a woman from Kuujjuaq came forward with an account from a downtown metro station. In a widely circulated Facebook post, Sue Simigak says a man spat on the floor and gave her the finger while telling her to leave the country. CRAR is also investigating allegations of harassment in the Milton Park neighborhood, where the Open Door shelter serves a largely Inuit clientele. An intervention worker there says clients usually take harassment in stride, but CRAR hopes that will change.
For Indigenous people who are usually taken not seriously by the justice system, this is something that we really have to be vigilant about.
Their new awareness campaign offers advice for victims of hate-motivated acts. Avoid reacting, for example, but do use reasonable force if you are in danger. Take photos or video of the aggressor if possible, and note all important details about the incident. This will make filing a police or human rights complaint easier. And with close to 20% of the province's Inuit living in Montreal, Niemi says it's important everyone is aware of their rights. Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Montreal.
Canada's top doctor, Theresa Tam, said non-surgical masks can help control the spread of COVID-19. And for those who want to help protect others, one woman in Saskatoon recently posted a step-by-step online tutorial on how to make face masks while in self-isolation. Priscilla Wolf has that story.
Métis fashion designer and seamstress Amelia Vilbrin, who grew up in the Métis community of Green Lake, has been sharing her online tutorials for face masks for weeks.
I keep hearing that there's a shortage of masks. And since we don't know what we're really dealing with and the rules keep changing all the time, I guess maybe a little bit desperate that I wanted to protect my family and my loved ones.
Vilbrin has been sending her handmade masks to family and friends and elders. she decided to share her craft online to help people sew some for themselves.
Well, I always wanted to do tutorials, and I guess this time it started out of desperation and boredom, and just I'm not much of a sitter, so I got to be doing something. I think that this is the way of the future, and this is something that I'm going to keep doing. I think that it could help people, and I think it is time for women to start sewing again. This is also something healing. I always find sewing is healing.
People have been using her tutorial to help themselves make masks at home.
All the sewers are keeping in touch with each other, and we're all excited about helping somehow. And the people that know how to sew, that want to tackle it, have watched it and reached out to me and told me that it was easy instructions.
Vilburn has been sharing her online tutorials on her Facebook page, but she plans to put them on YouTube to get more people to learn a traditional skill in a pandemic age. Priscilla Wolf, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
And it's a great skill to have. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has cleared a new test for diagnosing COVID-19, and it only requires a little bit of saliva. U.S. authorities granted an emergency use authorization for the first test. Developed by Rutgers University, the test requires a person to spit into a tube several times, which will then be sent to a lab for testing. Healthcare workers currently use a swab in many cases, painfully collecting samples from a patient's nose or throat. The new test will initially be offered through clinics and hospitals associated with the university. 20 years ago this week, the first APTN National Newscast hit the airwaves. APTN News senior producer Bruce Spence has been here since day one, and he's our guest tonight on Face to Face right after the news.
When I look back at some of the stories that we've done, some of the technological leaps ahead that have happened since then, it kind of puts it into a context, but it was a great moment for me personally, and I think it was probably a great moment for Indigenous peoples in Canada as a whole. Never before had we had our own network, television network, and never before had we had a national newscast that was for us, by us.
And there's some great viz of Bruce and some other familiar faces from that original episode, on that episode of Face to Face, which you can catch in just a few minutes right here. Still to come, how some in Enoch Cree Nation are trying to lift the people's spirits. Here's a look at the rest of Wednesday's weather forecast. +7 for high level, 3 above under sunny skies in Peace River, +2 in Medicine Hat and Calgary, where snow is on the way, 18 above under sunny skies in Victoria, 20 for Campbell River, +11 in Fort Nelson, +12 for Smithers, 8 above in Old Crow, +9 for Whitehorse, +11 and sunny for Fort Liard, Trout Lake, and Fort Simpson, -12 in Sax Harbor, +1 in Pawlatuck, -10 in Baker Lake, 14 below in Chesterfield, -15 in Resolute, 10 below for Clyde River. Welcome back. A remote fly-in First Nation in Northern Ontario is stockpiling moose and caribou as part of its pandemic plan. So far, hunters in Wapakika have harvested 5 moose and 10 caribou. The meat is being portioned and stored for families in the community. Joshua Frog is Wapakika's executive officer. He said the community wants to be prepared for a possible COVID-19 outbreak.
We do realize that at some point in time that the food chain might become scarce, where we normally get our food from wherever it may be. So we're just being cautious and preparing that we're not going to run out of food, at least meat, and then fish, of course.
A Cree-owned hotel and casino near Edmonton has come up with a way to offer a bit of encouragement during the pandemic. Chris Stewart shows us what they're doing.
If you are shopping or passing by the Granville area of Western Edmonton, this site would be hard to miss. Right across the street is the River Cree Resort and Casino. But while they are closed right now, that didn't stop them from turning on the lights in the hotel rooms to make signs across the front and back of the hotel, like this one. Janie Bain is the marketing director.
We started it a few weeks ago, and we actually started it with the word Cree on the front of the building, as we're 100% owned by Inuit Cree Nation. And we started it with 440 on the back of the resort on the west side of the hotel, and 440 is the Inuit Cree Nation band number.
They wanted to find a way to offer support during these difficult times.
You know, it was a group idea, and we were just finding ways, little ways that we can send messages out of hope, especially to frontline associate workers, and just our little way of sending a positive message to the city of Edmonton and the surrounding areas.
Bain says the responses have been fantastic.
People have said it's so great to see that light of hope. People have said that it's going to be their adventure, their outing to get in their vehicle with those that they're isolating with, to come see it in person. Just so great to see that positivity.
Bam says the hotel will be changing the word from time to time until they are once again open for business. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
Turning 100 at any time calls for a celebration, but when that milestone happens in the midst of a global pandemic, it takes on even more significance. Eleanor Murphy's grandson and his family wanted to surprise her on her 100th birthday, so they threw her a little party at her Toronto seniors' home. While they still maintain their physical distance, everyone needs to keep people, especially seniors, safe. They still manage to get close. Cute. And not just people who need to physical distance. Veterinarians say the rules should apply to pets too. They say it's possible dogs and cats could carry COVID-19 without actually having the virus themselves. Their fur could be a potential vehicle for transmission. Experts are reminding pet owners taking their dog for a walk to keep 2 meters away from others to be extra safe. Still in pet news, a pair of puppies took advantage of an empty aquarium in Georgia to spend some time exploring. The Atlanta Humane Society brought these 2 cute pups to play inside the attraction and check out the strange new faces. The aquarium closed earlier this month because of COVID-19. Though people aren't able to get out to see the marine life themselves, the video was posted online for us, for all to see while we stay at home. They didn't keep 2 meters apart, those dogs, like we just said. That's your APTN National News for this Tuesday. For more, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. And join us live tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time as we put APTN National News' 20th anniversary in focus. Stick around. Face to Face is next. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back here tomorrow.